Joining us for a couple of seconds is former Shreveport Police Detective Rod Demery, who is a major part of a new series on Investigation Discovery Channel called Murder Chose Me. Hey, Mr. Rod, how are you this morning?
Hey, I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
How did all this happen? We were talking last hour about this show, and to put it bluntly, there's you know as well as I do, there's got to be 100,000 police detectives across the country with great stories. What was so great about your stories?
I really don't know. I was incredibly blessed to have met some of the producers that were covering a couple of my stories, and one thing led to another, and they offered me a television series, and it kind of went from there.
Well, offered you a television series. Would you relive that moment for me, please?
Well, I was really not sure they were serious about it, so I guess I didn't take it. That serious right off. But after a couple of months and a few more phone calls and meetings and trips to New York, it started to sink in slowly. I think I probably would have been incredibly overwhelmed if I would have, appreciated that moment in that moment. So it was, like I said, it's an incredible blessing just to be able to kind of get out and do something that I never thought would ever be done.
Rod, it's a 10-series show, correct? How long did it take to film? When did it all wrap?
Well, I guess maybe a year, a little less than a year, and it wrapped. I think the last show was shot about a month ago in November. Actually, it's wrapped probably prior to that, a couple months prior to that, and Discovery ordered another couple episodes. So it wrapped right after that.
And describe your involvement. Will we see you on TV much, or are you just the narrator?
Yeah. Actually, I pretty much host and narrate the show where the actors reenact some of the crimes that took place. So what you'll see is me flashing back from me to the actual reenactment.
Are any of the cases, are any of the shows, are they centered around cases that you were involved in?
Yeah. Actually, they're all cases where I was.
Every one.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Now,
Right.
I was watching, and we talked about this earlier in the week, and it was on some Reels channel, and it was the final hours Jimi Hendrix. And at some point in this, as they reenacted Jimi Hendrix's final hours, they had an actor who looked nothing like Jimi Hendrix being Jimi Hendrix. The actor in this, who plays Rod Demery, does he look like Rod Demery?
Everyone says he does. I don't see it personally. But,
Rod's a good-looking guy.
Because you got a better-looking guy, this guy?
Actually, he's a very good-looking guy. And I say, hey, wait a minute, this guy, I don't look that good.
Rod,
he's
folks,
an incredible actor.
Rod, folks who may not know your story, I mean, you got into detective work. Tell your personal story about your mom and your brother.
Well, I guess the long and short of it is when I was a kid, 3, my mother was murdered. She was murdered in somewhere south of here, and it was back in 1969. She was murdered by her husband at the time. She got married when I was about a year old, and my brother was 2. Back then there weren't a whole lot of rights for women, and they were pretty much regarded as property. And of course, it was the segregated South, so there was not a lot of attention paid to her murder. My brother and I grew up in New Mexico. My grandparents raised us. My brother, at some point in adolescence, decided that he wanted to live with our biological dad. He moved to Shreveport. He grew up as a teen. Then, by the time he was, before 30 or at 30, he found himself involved in a crime and ended up murdering someone in California.
He's still in jail? Is he still in jail?
Yes. My brother's been locked up for about 22 years. During that time, I was in the military and eventually went to police work. Like I tell most people, I think I was just guided to homicide. I think that was, God's plan for me. With all those different circumstances, it just made it a little different, my perspective, actually, and I could understand, victims of murder survivors, and I can understand the surviving family members of people that commit murders. It's a unique set of circumstances that can only be defined. And I think most of my focus was, well, actually all of my focus for most of my adult life was on working homicide. And yes, it was just a natural thing for me.
You've obviously seen the episodes. Are there things in there that we're going to go, that can't be true, that has to be hog? Or were there some of the things in it they took a little poetic license with?
Yeah, dramatic license, as they say.
No, they're actually pretty much playing out as they happened, and I think that was the incredible thing Discovery was able to do. It kind of stuck to the story as it was. Obviously we want to do the family's justice, and there's a lot of participation from some of the survivors and victims, and maintaining that respect for them and making sure they're going to be okay with it was a big part of it. So there was not a lot of straying away.
Have you hired an agent? Are other offers coming in? Is there more TV or, for lack of a better term, show business in Rod Demery's future?
Well, I'm pretty sure this thing could go on for just until most people get tired of watching these types of things. But the reality is I work for the district attorney's office, and I still enjoy homicide and homicide investigations. And I guess I really haven't thought that far ahead, because I get that question a lot.
Well, listen, if you need people, because, show business people, they need people. Aaron and I are available to be your people. Just keep that in mind.
Where does Rod Demery watch the show tonight? Are you having a party? What's going on?
Yeah, some friends of mine, law enforcement friends, are having a party in Bossier at River City Grill. So I'm gonna get out there with them, and just appreciate the fact that they wanted to get together and do something like that. It's a pretty big deal. So I'm gonna get out there tonight, watch it,